Okay, good talk, everybody. Coming to you from Austin, Texas. I'm here to do a run, a half marathon with Friendship Circle, Team Friendship. Really good stuff. Stay tuned for a video coming about that and some fundraising tips. Anyway, we're not in the regular setting, but we're going to say a story. This story is called Purim Teman, or Purim in Yemen. And this has to do with, you'll find out. In Yemen, the Jewish community, did fairly well at this time in history when the story happened. The Sultan had a Jewish advisor who we kept promoting, and the king had a son who was the crown prince, and everybody loved the crown prince, including the Jewish community over there. Very, very, just a good person in every sense of the word. He was very charismatic, very good looking, a kind person. Everyone loved him, including the Jewish community. Whenever he would visit the Jewish quarter, everyone would come out to greet him. And the king kept on promoting this Jewish advisor that he had to the point that he made him Grand Vizier, which is, the highest position you can have below the king. And the king always consulted him. Anything that happened in the country, he first consulted with this Jewish advisor. And the advisor would always make sure that if any decree was only for the good of the Sultan but would make the lives of citizens worse, he would advise the king against it. And anything that would benefit the country as a whole, including the king and the people and everybody, then he would advise for it. Now, the ministers were very jealous of this Jew. They wanted to get rid of him, and they wanted to demote him from his position and get rid of the Jews once and for all. In general, they didn't like the Jews at all. They wanted to give them a hard time. They wanted to, have them disappear from Yemen, from that community. And they bribed the two servants to be part of their plan, and this is what they decided to do. One day, when the prince was riding around with the two servants, they would make an accident happen, and they would blame it on the Jewish people. They would, take the prince's life, and they decided to do this on Purim. They tell the prince that, hey, the Jews have their holiday where they have a bunch of, delicacies, sugar, and it was Purim, and they described it as a sugar holiday. And they said, "Why we should go visit them?" And the prince, was he liked the idea. He went, and all the, it spread like wildfire that the prince is coming, and all the Jews came out to greet him. And it was already towards night, and so it wasn't, very clear outside, and people couldn't see very well. And their plan was that when the crown prince would try to get off his horse, one of them would quickly unsheath his sword, point it upwards, and the other servant would hold his foot in the stirrups, have it get stuck, and he would fall right onto his sword. And that's what they did. And it happened so quickly. They did it so professionally that nobody even realized before it happened. Like, it happened so quickly, nobody realized what happened. And right away, the servants said, "Oh, a Jew killed the king. The Jews killed the crown prince." Sorry, and they brought the body of the crown prince to the palace, and the Jews are like, "What?" They don't know what hit them. Now, the king believed the story. He was obviously very, very distraught that his son was, he derived so much pride from this child that now this child is gone, and he ordered that the Jews would have to produce the assassin, or else, if they can't produce who killed him, then he's going to hold them all responsible, and they're all going to be burnt in the Jewish quarters. And the Grand Vizier tried to speak to the king and say, no, this didn't happen. It didn't happen from none of the Jewish people would have done this. But the king didn't listen to him. He was so distraught. He stripped him of all his honors and sent him back to the ghetto to have the same, not the ghetto, the Jewish quarters, to have the same fate as everybody else. And what they called in those days the Chacham Bashi, the rabbi, the community rabbi, said that they have to have a fast for 3 days. I'm guessing they ate and drank a little bit at night, but for 3 days, and that they should go in order to pray for salvation. So they went for, they fasted the first, second day. On the third day, one kid tells his mother, listen, Hashem listened to our prayers. It's okay to eat now. Can you give me some food? The mother's like, what are you talking about? The rabbi, the leader said we don't do this. The Rav said we don't do this. Chacham said we don't do this. So, we can't eat. And he says, no, and he keeps on pleading. He says, Hashem, listen to our prayers. I'm telling you. So the mother doesn't know what to do. She says, I'm going to take him to the Chacham Bashi. So he goes to the Chacham. The Chacham asks him, tell me, what did you learn? What did you learn today? This is like what Mordechai asked the children in the story of the original story of Purim. So he says, which means from the mouth of babes, it's like the mouth of children, you have established strength to destroy the enemies, to those who are your oppressors. So he realized that this was a sign that the Jews are going to emerge victorious and they're not going to be hurt. And so the Chacham Bashi and this boy and his mother, they go to the palace with some dignitaries, some people with them, accompanying them from the Jewish quarter, and they all dress up in their finest clothes. Obviously, they go, and he says, and the Chacham presents this boy, and the boy tells the Sultan, I'm going to reveal who really, with Hashem's help, I'm going to reveal who really killed the crown prince. And so the boy writes on a piece of parchment. He puts the parchment on the forehead of the crown prince. Is there. His body was there in a coffin. And he puts this parchment on the forehead of the crown prince. And it says he writes on it Aleph Mem Saf, which spells out Emes, which means truth. And he asks the crown prince, tell us the truth, who killed you? And right away, the prince, he's obviously not alive anymore, but he gets up and points with a dead finger at the two servants, and they're trembling with fear. And they admit, they beg the king for mercy not to kill them, and they admit that it was, they'd say which ministers it was that had killed them, that had put them up to this plan. And the king sentenced them all to be hung, and in total, everyone who was hung was 10 people, just like the story of Purim. And like Yehudim Haisa Oida V'Simcha V'Sas and Yikar came to Yelanu. So for us, the Jews, ended up having not only that they not have something terrible happen to them, and they weren't falsely accused in the end, something they did not do, but actually they had a second holiday, and from then on, the Jews of Yemen, not only did they have a regular Purim, the day after Shushan Purim, they had a second Purim, which was Purim Teman, the Purim of Yemen. And this boy, I believe that, I remember reading the story, actually he erased the letter Aleph after the crown prince gave his testimony, and that spells the Aleph. When you erase the Aleph, it's only Mem and Saf, which spells Mes, which means dead, and he went back into the coffin. This boy ended up becoming a very holy tzaddik, very great man in Yemen, and eventually went on to lead the community. Anyways, we're in Adar, we're in the first Adar, but this was a very special story that I remember all the way from my childhood, actually, which is a very special story. And may we see miracles now. Please like this video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, share it with your friends. Please consider supporting the channel so we can continue producing this awesome content. And yeah, Shabbat Tov. Enjoy. Love you guys. Trying to see. Oh, here we go.
Why didn't I get a notification that something was on?
From where?
YouTube, no?